This evening, first, massive cocaine bust in Northwest. Nearly 500 pounds of cocaine worth over 300 million Ghana dollars seized in a major police operation near the Barima River. 4 suspects are in custody and the alleged mastermind is now behind bars. We've got the latest on Ghana's biggest drug bust this year, plus a mother's final act of love. A heroic East Canje mother drowns while saving her 5-year-old son after a boat capsized in the Berbice River. Tonight, hear her child's emotional last words from the riverbank and what investigators believe happened in those terrifying moments. Also, more free exams for students. President Irfaan Ali expands exam fee waivers, this time for students sitting the CAPE exams. Coming on the heels of the CSEC announcement, we'll tell you how many students could benefit and why this move could reshape higher education access in Guyana. Meanwhile, tariff tensions and local exports, with U.S. tariffs temporarily paused. Senior Minister Dr. Ashni Singh meets with the Guyanese exporters to assess the damage. Find out what the Vice President is saying about the agricultural impact and how the government plans to respond without retaliation. And Argentina shuts down. Transportation, schools and services grind to a halt as Argentina's largest trade union stages a national strike. The cause? Austerity measures, wage cuts and rising public anger. What it means for the region and global markets. Stay tuned, these stories and more tonight on Headline News Update. I hyphenated it so that I get it right and I got it wrong. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for April 11, 2025. I am Baby Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, police have seized close to 500 pounds of cocaine during an intelligence-led operation in the Imbomotero area of Barima River Northwest District on Tuesday, April 8. The bust has an estimated street value of over 300 million Guyana dollars. The operation initially targeted the residence and fuel storage barn of Anthony Hosea Berea, also known as Anthony Hosea Yespen. Yespen allegedly fled the premises with a firearm before the raid. While no drugs were found on site, subsequent investigations led to the arrest of 4 individuals, each of whom directed authorities to separate locations along the creek where large quantities of the narcotics were hidden. Police recovered several salt bags containing parcels of creamish rock-like substance believed to be cocaine. The suspects were cautioned and taken into custody. Following further investigation, the primary suspect, Yespen, was also arrested and is assisting police with their inquiries. The operation also resulted in the seizure of 11 cellular phones and 3 handheld radios. Investigations are ongoing. On a different note, a 31-year-old mother of 2, Kendra Lindy, tragically lost her life while saving her 5-year-old son during a tragic boat accident on the Berbice River earlier today. Lindy, a cook employed at Leisure Inn and a resident of Main Street, East Canje, Berbice, had been returning home from a trip up the upper Berbice River when the vessel she was in reportedly struck an obstruction and capsized between 4 and 5 a.m. this morning. According to reports, Lindy managed to push her son out of the boat to safety before she became trapped and drowned. The child later told relatives that his mom pushed him out of the boat and said to him, "You can't die with me." Several other passengers were rescued by a passing vessel and transported to the New Amsterdam Public Hospital. Some sustained injuries but are recovering. Lindy was officially pronounced dead at the hospital. Her son sustained only minor injuries to his hand. Authorities have launched an investigation into the incident. In other news, firefighters in Linden have contained a massive blaze that erupted in a gully behind the Waldyke sawmill in Amelia's Ward, Linden. The fire began early Tuesday morning in a waste disposal site used by sawmill operators and grew into a significant inferno by nightfall, threatening 4 nearby sawmills. According to the regional vice chairman of Region 10, Mark Goring, in an interview with Credible Source, the fire originated in a valley where decades of wood waste had been deposited for many years.
The entire valley that you see here, it's surrounded by 7 to about 8 or 9 sawmill. I mean, there's other sawmill beyond more to the east. And they've been dumping stuff here for as long as 20 years. Since the first sawmill that established here since in late 90s, early 2000.
Sawmillers believe the blaze may have started due to heat generated from stacked waste materials.
This is a lot of debris that would have backed up a thousands of cubic meters of debris would have been accumulated over a 2-decade period. And so with sawdust and all these wood sawdust normally create gas, methane and all these different things. And there's a large buildup there. And so when this fire started, which would have been more than 48 hours going on to 72 hours, it was more in the gully and it came up and started threatening the sawmill.
Despite the fire's intensity, no sawmills were damaged thanks to the swift response of the Guyana Fire Service, local companies, and community members who provided equipment and support. With the help of digging and flooding trenches and coordinated efforts, firefighters successfully isolated the blaze to prevent further spread.
There's nothing you can do down there. The most you can do is contain this fire and to keep it in this gully area. But thankfully, we're in a little rainy season, because if we were in the dry season, this entire fire could keep shifting and go just about 200 feet from here to this bush. There is person living in this gully.
Mayor of Linden, Sharma Solomon, credited the coordinated efforts for preventing the fire spread. He emphasized the need for better waste management practices, labeling the current system as a major environmental and safety hazard. He confirmed that the Linden Mayor and Town Council will work with sawmill operators and owners and the Environmental Protection Agency to establish a proper disposal facility. The fire, though contained, is still being monitored closely as efforts continue towards complete extinguishment. The Ministry of Home Affairs and the Guyana Fire Service have urged the public to avoid the area during ongoing operations. Investigations into the exact cause of the blaze are continuing. Stick around when we return. Government waives CAPE exam fees for all students. And we lift 5 launches with record participation, empowering women entrepreneurs across Guyana.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Our smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services. 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Welcome back. In a continued push to ease financial burdens on families and improve access to education, the government of Guyana has announced that it will waive examination fees for students sitting the upcoming Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Exam, CAPE. President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali announced Thursday morning that no student should be forced to limit their academic potential due to financial constraints. He noted that he will ensure that no child is compelled to limit the number of CSEC subjects they write on the account of the financial circumstances of their parents. This initiative goes beyond CSEC. It would also include the CAPE students, the president said. CAPE, administered by the Caribbean Examinations Council, is a key regional examination designed for students completing post-secondary education and preparing for higher studies. The move follows a similar announcement made just a day prior, in which the president revealed that the government would cover the fees for students writing up to 8 Caribbean secondary education certificate subjects. The initiative is expected to benefit candidates from both public and private institutions and represents an estimated investment of $700 million. The Ministry of Education noted that the cost of sitting the CSEC exams include an entry fee, subject fee, and local administrative fee per subject, all of which will now be fully funded by the government. These measures are part of a strategy to improve educational opportunities and invest in the country's human capital. The senior minister within the Office of the President with responsibility for finance and public service, Dr. Ashni Singh, will meet with local exporters today to assess the potential impact of U.S.-imposed tariffs on Guyanese goods. Vice President Dr. Barima made this announcement during his weekly press conference on Thursday, noting that while key exports like oil, gas, gold, and aluminum are exempted, agricultural exports could be significantly affected.
We still believe that it is through engagement with the United States of America that we can resolve this matter, and that will be our approach. We have all the facts ready to present in the engagement. We are also meeting with the exporters who would be affected. A large amount of our exports are exempt, and particularly oil from the reciprocal tariff, and bauxite ore and gold exports. And these form the bulk of our exports. But there are some crucial sectors that could be badly affected, mainly the agricultural sector and their exports. So we are meeting with the exporters to understand the impact of any potential tariff. But we do have the 90 days reprieve now, and we are hoping to engage the U.S. government within those 90 days to address this issue.
The U.S. had implemented a 10% baseline tariff globally and a 38% reciprocal tariff on Guyana, though President Donald Trump paused the latter for 90 days starting April 10th, excluding China. Dr. Jaglio said the government will use the pause to pursue diplomatic talks with the U.S. while meeting with the local exporters to assess the impact of the tariffs.
Thankfully, we got 2 signals from the U.S. government on this matter to conclude it. One is that the tariff is on hold for 90 days. And 2, President Trump himself said, I'm looking to talk to countries about it. And we're ready to talk to them about this matter. So that's the approach that we will take on these matters. Nevertheless, we will meet with our exporters to find out what the impact of the potential, even the 10% going into the United States of America, because every country will have to pay that.
The vice president emphasized that Guyana will not resort to retaliatory tariffs and dismissed opposition claims of government negligence as baseless. He reiterated the government's commitment to protecting the livelihoods of citizens, particularly those in agriculture, and ensuring a constructive resolution to the trade issues. In other news, the highly anticipated We Live 5 exhibition officially opened today at the National Aquatic Center, marking the largest event of its kind in Guyana. Launched in 2021 by the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, the initiative, Women Empowering, Leading, Innovating, and Flourishing Together, aims to promote and support women entrepreneurs nationwide. The event, now in its fifth year, has grown exponentially, increasing from 75 participants in its inaugural year to 350 businesses this year. The exhibition will travel to all regions across Guyana to give female business owners a national platform to showcase their work. Minister of Human Services and Social Security Dr. Vinay Prasad said this is the biggest expo of its kind in this part of the region. It speaks to our ongoing commitment to women's empowerment, building on initiatives like the Women's Innovation and Investment Network. Wayland 5 features a diverse range of businesses, from candle and soap making to fashion, jewelry, agro-processing, and gourmet foods. Many of the women have transitioned from micro to mid-level entrepreneurs thanks to their participation in the event. The exhibition opened today and concludes on Sunday, April 13th. In addition to the business booths, the event will include engaging activities such as yoga sessions, craft making workshops, makeup and skincare tutorials, and panel discussions. The initiative is dedicated to empowering women and promoting gender-inclusive economic growth. Don't go away after the break. U.S. Supreme Court rules man wrongfully deported to El Salvador must be returned, and Trump defends tariffs in cabinet meeting amid market turmoil.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. The U.S. Supreme Court unanimously ruled that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, mistakenly deported to El Salvador, must be returned to the U.S. The 9-0 decision upheld a lower court's order while questioning the judge's authority. Garcia, wrongfully placed in a notorious Salvadorian prison, was deported due to an administrative error. The government must now explain how it plans to bring him back to Maryland. Meanwhile, in South America, Argentina's most powerful trade union federation has launched a general strike, disrupting transportation, schools, and public service nationwide. The strike is a direct response to President Javier Milei's sweeping austerity measures, which include sharp spending cuts, deregulation, and labor reforms. Al Jazeera's Tariff reports.
This is the third national strike called by the largest union in Argentina since President Javier Milei took office 16 months ago. On Thursday, workers walked off the job to protest against his austerity measures, paralyzing trains, ports and planes, and forcing schools, businesses and banks to close. Buses were the only way for many people to get around.
There is no public transport, so I have to take a bus. But the right to strike is a right of the workers in Argentina, and I think there should be more strikes because the economic situation is extremely difficult with this government.
The strike began with a mass demonstration outside Congress on Wednesday. Workers are demanding higher wages and an end to the cuts on government spending. Nancy Julan is a retired literature professor. Pensions have been among the most affected by Milei's so-called chainsaw plan.
I feel a lot of anger because after 40 years of contributing, you have to live a life of poverty. I'm a language and literature teacher. I used to like going to the movies, the theater, buying books. I can't do that. It's what I miss the most.
Milei came to power with a promise to transform Argentina's economy. He's implementing one of the harshest austerity plans in this country's history to reduce inflation.
This strike is happening as the government is getting ready to sign a new agreement with the International Monetary Fund, $20 billion. The government says they need the loan to continue with its economic program. But people here say that more debt will only complicate Argentina's economic troubles.
Argentina is hoping to receive an advance of at least 40% of the loan to ease mounting pressure on the exchange rate, which has led to the central bank to sell almost $2 billion from its reserves in recent weeks.
The IMF is a bank and they want Argentina's economy to do well, so there are reserves and they get paid. But we will have to see what conditions they impose and how much stability it will give to Argentina's financial system.
It's too early to tell whether Milei's policies will succeed, and economic uncertainty around the world only adds to the challenges here. But the rise in social tension suggests thousands are willing to push back if the government fails. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera, Buenos Aires.
U.S. President Donald Trump defended his controversial economic policies during a cabinet meeting with his closest advisors, inviting cameras into the room for a rare glimpse. The meeting followed confirmation from the White House that Chinese imports would be hit with 145% tariffs. Al Jazeera's Mike Hanna reports.
We've had some great wins in the last few days.
And I appreciate you taking the initiative.
This was a sentiment common to all cabinet secretaries as one by one they outlined what they viewed as the successes of their departments. But looming behind the self-congratulation was the awareness of a domestic economy still under threat, reflected in another drop in the markets, one that the Treasury Secretary attempted to diminish.
We will end up in a place of great certainty over the next 90 days on tariffs. We had very good inflation numbers today. Oil's down. We had a successful bond market, so I don't see anything unusual.
And the Commerce Secretary expressed optimism about tariff negotiations.
So we've have so many countries to talk to. It is it's incredible. I think Scott and I'm not sure we could ever have enough time in the day to talk to all these countries because they want to talk and they want to talk now. And they have come with offers that they never, ever, ever would have come with, but for the moves that the president has made, demanding that people treat the United States with respect.
Amidst global concern about a trade war with China, President Trump insisted there was still a possibility of a turnaround.
I have great respect for President Xi. He's been, in a true sense, he's been a friend of mine for a long period of time. And I think that we'll end up working out something that's very good for both countries. I look forward to it.
There was optimism from the Defense Secretary about a deal giving the U.S. a greater say in the operation of the Panama Canal, and a repeat of the claim by the director of the Department of Government Efficiency that he'd found wide-scale fraud in the Social Security system. The presence of Elon Musk after days of conspicuous absence was a pointed signal that the administration is united, and there's complete agreement here about the direction being taken, and there's a total belief in the president's confidence that all will end well.
It's all going to work out very well. I think it's going to work out really very well, but we're in good shape.
This was not a forum for pointed questions, introspection, or debate. Mike Hanna, Al Jazeera, at the White House.
Finally, the European Union has suspended its 25% retaliatory tariffs on American goods after U.S. President Donald Trump decided to delay his proposed global tariff hikes. The move was welcomed by EU Commission President, who said it was a step towards easing trade tensions. However, European investors still remain cautious. Al Jazeera's Dominic Kane reports.
At this factory in southern Spain, olive oil is being produced. Some of this will eventually make its way to the United States, where its importers will have to pay a tariff of 10% on it, but not the higher 20% rate President Trump had imposed on the EU last week, because on Wednesday night he decided to freeze what he calls those reciprocal tariffs for 90 days. Prompting the EU to pause its own retaliatory tariffs on the US for a similar period.
We want to negotiate. We want to talk. We appreciate that you have brought this pause on so-called reciprocal tariffs, and we in turn are now pausing our proposed countermeasures.
But other new US tariffs haven't been frozen, specifically the 25% rate on automotive-related products, which is a worry for management and workers at this factory near Warsaw, because Poland is the world's 7th largest exporter of spare parts. Tariffs on those are still set to come into force next month.
The workforce is very involved in what's going on at the factory, and they ask themselves what's going on. We have no tariffs in place for today. We know from the Trump administration that tariffs on car parts are not expected to enter until May 3rd.
In Germany too, people are asking what's going on. Their car industry had long been struggling before the recent round of tariffs began.
The United States? Not our problem. We've got enough problems here in Germany. Let's deal with our own issues.
Everything's getting more expensive anyway. The US doing what it's doing probably doesn't help, but we're quite capable of ruining our economy on our own.
And that thought is reflected in German society more widely. Earlier this year, researchers were predicting modest growth of 0.8% in 2025. On Thursday, they revised that down to just 0.1%. Uncertainty has dominated much of the past week. Now, seemingly, there's a 90-day truce in the trade war between the United States and Europe. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 30 weather forecast. And that's Safe TV2 headline news for this Friday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. We will be out for the weekend, but you can tune in on Monday at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other, and do have a wonderful weekend.